Hi, my name is Craig Beck and I'm from the website stopdrinkingexpert.com. In today's episode, I want to talk about a fancy new term that is being used to describe people who have drinking problems. And that is the alcohol use disorder phrase that you may have heard. You know, go back 10 years and people talked about alcoholism and alcoholics. It's pretty much it. It seems recently you hear that less. And now you hear about people suffering with alcohol use disorders. So what's the difference? Is there a difference? And are you one? That's what this is all about today. And I'm making this because I saw a celebrity being interviewed. I won't mention the name, but I saw this celebrity being interviewed. And the person interviewing them said, I read that you're an alcoholic. And the celebrity got very offended and said, no, I'm not an alcoholic. I suffer with an alcohol use disorder. And I thought, that's a bit like, you know, if someone said to you, oh, I see you've broken your leg, and you're getting very offended and saying, I have not broken my leg is fractured in 2 places, but don't you dare tell me that I've broken my leg. I'm not sure what point it serves getting so attached to the specific label of your problem. But first of all, let's talk about what is an alcohol use disorder. Well, basically, it's anyone who is drinking, who is using alcohol in an abnormal way. So it's not just socializing with alcohol, having the odd drink every now and again, but is using alcohol routinely or in binge amounts or to address specific emotional problems. Now, for me personally, my approach to this, and the reason my course has helped so many people, is because it's so different. And that is because I think maybe I'm a little bit different. I need logic. For me to understand things, for me to buy into things, it has to be logical to me. So this is where we start with the problem for me, because the term alcohol use disorder implies that there is a normal, healthy way to drink poison. And that's where I have a problem right from the start, because that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, that there is a normal way to drink diluted poison. For me, anyone who drinks alcohol has a problem. And when I do my boot camps around the world, I always tell the story about Ralph. Ralph was a 70-year-old gentleman who came to my San Francisco quit drinking boot camp. And we always start the event by going around the room and finding out who we've got and how far you've traveled, and tell us a little bit about why you're here. How is alcohol impacting your life to the point where you've decided to come to a quit drinking boot camp? And Ralph was the last to go. And when we got to Ralph, he said, hi, my name's Ralph, and I've been drinking a miniature of vodka every day for the last 40 years. 1 miniature. And I laughed and I said, Ralph, why are you here? You know, have you got nowhere better to be? Why are you here? And he said, let me tell you, he said, I hate it. I hate that I have to reach for that miniature every day. I hate that I can't control it. I hate the way it makes me feel about myself. And that's so perfect, because that is the very definition of whether you have a problem or not. It's got nothing to do with how much you drink. It's got nothing to do with how often you drink. The definition for me as to whether you have a drinking problem is, does it make you miserable? Is it making your life worse as a result? And if you answer yes to those questions, then you have a problem and you should deal with it. And this is so important because, you know, I was a problem drinker for 20 years of my life. And I spent half of that trying to moderate my drinking. And I probably spent a quarter of that in denial, getting bogged down in labels. And I would desperately research and try and find evidence. This is pure confirmation bias to prove why I wasn't an alcoholic. And I said to myself things that you may have said to yourself. I said, well, look, I don't drink in the morning. I have no urge to drink alcohol when I wake up in the morning, so therefore I cannot be an alcoholic. You know, I can go days if I want without drinking. I can't be an alcoholic. Sometimes I can take a month off. I can't be an alcoholic. Sometimes I don't drink every day. I can't be an alcoholic. And so on and so on and so on. And I spent years just trying to prove to myself that I wasn't an alcoholic, you know? I would survey my friends at work. I would go around people at work and say, how much do you drink on average? And I would ignore all the people who drank less than me, but I would find a handful of people who drank more than me, and that was proof enough that I was okay. I wasn't a problem drinker. There were people much worse than me. And this is why, I don't go into a huge amount of detail about terminology and, alcohol use disorders versus alcoholism. To me, it doesn't really matter. And like that celebrity I told you about at the start of the video, they spend so much of their energy and passion buying into the label that suits them, when they could be using all that energy and passion to get away from the thing that's making them miserable. It doesn't matter whether you call yourself an alcoholic, a problem drinker, or a sufferer of alcohol use disorders. It doesn't make any difference to what is happening to you. You are drinking poison routinely, and it's making your life miserable. And for that reason alone, you should take action. Now, you see, there's another problem here. Because if you say to yourself, well, I suffer with a disease called alcoholism, or I suffer with illnesses that are called alcohol use disorders, there's an element of the problem being outside of your control. It's like, if you said to someone, I've got cancer, nobody would say, well, what did you go and get that for? People go, oh, how terrible for you. Oh, you've been attacked by cancer. Oh, that is bad luck. Bad luck, bad fortune. Not your fault. Cancer's fault. And it's the same with alcohol. If you say to yourself, I've got a disease called alcoholism, there is an implication that there's nothing you can do about that. You just got dealt a bad hand. You maybe blame your parents. They were drinkers as well. Oh, I've inherited this problem drinking gene. It's not my fault. Nothing I can do about it. So I might as well just drink and live with the curse that I've been given. And people go into pure victim mode. I've got a disease. Have you heard? Oh, I've got a terrible disease. It's called alcoholism. Oh, there's nothing I can do about it. Like it's diabetes or something. And so this is another reason why labels are not helpful. And one of the things that I talk about a lot at boot camp and on my course is that I don't give you a label. And partly because all the labels have connotations attached to them. If I call you an alcoholic, that implies that there's something wrong with you. And that you're broken in some way. You're a weak-willed, pathetic individual. And I never called myself an alcoholic because I didn't want that baggage that came with it. You see, if you believe you're an alcoholic, then you believe that it's outside your control. And it's absolutely not. Because in truth, and what I try and get across to you in my online course, is there's nothing wrong with you. This is not a weird thing that is happening. Just because you're addicted to alcohol, there's nothing wrong with you. Nothing unusual has happened. You repeatedly drank a highly addictive substance and got addicted. Now, to my logical brain, the entirely predictable outcome to your behavior happened. Not something that labels you a freak or a weirdo or weak. You drank something that's highly addictive and hey, guess what happened? You got addicted. And I make the joke, to give yourself a horrible label like alcoholic in that situation would be like if I came around to your house and put itching powder in your underwear, and then when you started scratching uncontrollably, and I went up to you and went, you dirty scratchaholic. You're a scratchaholic and you always will be. Even if you stop scratching, you'll only ever be a recovering scratchaholic. You wouldn't accept that label, would you? You'd go, Craig, you idiot! I'm only scratching because you put itching powder in my underwear. And the same is true of alcohol. You're only watching this video, you're only worried about your drinking because you repeatedly drank a highly addictive substance and hey presto, you got addicted. And I know it's a ridiculous analogy, but you can even make a really simpler and more closely connected analogy. Think about smoking. You know, we don't have smokeaholics, do we? You know, if you meet someone who says, oh, you know, I smoke 40 a day, but I'm going to give up. You don't immediately jump on them and say, even if you give up, you'll only ever be a recovering smokeaholic. You'll be a smokeaholic for the rest of your life because you're broken, you're weak, you're pathetic, you're terrible. We don't do that with that drug because we understand nicotine is highly addictive, and if you smoke it enough, you get addicted. What a surprise. Only with alcohol do we point the finger of blame and go, oh, alcoholic, for the rest of your life. So, whether you want to call yourself an alcoholic, a problem drinker, or suffering with alcohol use disorders, doesn't make any difference to me. You're in the same boat with me. And I can help you get out of that boat. That's what I do. It's what I've been doing for 10 years now. And if you are worried about your drinking, forget about the labels and just do something positive today. Do something productive. Sign up to my online quit drinking webinar at stopdrinkingexpert.com, and I'll show you how this works. I'll even give you a copy of my best-selling book, Alcohol Lied to Me, as a free gift just for turning up. Simple. Thanks so much for being with me today, and I will see you in the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, please just ask.